What's up, and welcome back to 1331. I'm your host, Mr. Ripper, and as always, I have my lovely co-host here with me to assist me, the one, the only Todd of Thunder.
What's up?
And the Mistress of the Monsters, Lana.
Hey, my little monsters.
And we're back with another 2025 movie review. And this time, we are going to be reviewing Presents.
Not
Presents?
Like, not like
Present?
not like a present, but a presence.
Presidents? Presents? I don't know. Presents, like as in something being there. Anyway, so it came out of nowhere. I don't think we didn't talk about this at all. I don't think this was on our radar.
No, it wasn't on mine. I didn't even see a trailer before we saw the movie.
No. I started to watch like 5 seconds into it, and then I stopped, and I was like, okay, I don't want to see anymore, and I want you to be completely blind to this.
Yeah.
And Todd, did you watch a trailer before watching this one?
No.
Okay, cool. So we were all completely blind going into this one, pretty much, for the most part. I don't think we're going to get into spoilers. Are we going to dive into spoilers for this one?
I don't think that we should.
Okay, so we're going to keep this spoiler free because
Spoiler free zone.
like we say, we want to save you money on the bad things and things that we think are worth the money. We think you should,
Experience for yourself.
experience for yourself. And I think this one is definitely a see in the theater. A brief summary for me is I think it's worth the time and it's a really good story. Not giving anything away or going into like depth or detail yet, but that's just my overall take. What about you, Lana?
I have to agree 100%. I had a really good time with it. The story and the character development I thought was fantastic, following a family and their issues from the perspective of the specific thing.
Mr. Thunter.
Well, the positives that I have about it is I like the way it was shot. It was pretty cool. It has that first-person point of view throughout pretty much all the scenes. You're kind of going around without, it's like a one-take type of deal. And it's pretty impressive to see something like that because everybody has to be on their A game because if not, messes up the whole shit.
One-shot takes are definitely very, very hard to get right. And this movie is, for the most part, a one-shot take movie.
Which even more impressive about that is how many times in that one shot they go up and down the stairs into different rooms, and it's all flawless.
Very flawless. So I guess diving into positives on my end, like Todd just said, the one-shot take I think is very hard to capture and get right. And this movie gets it right throughout the whole movie. Even all the way to the very last scene of the movie is like that one-shot flow take to it. The acting is by far some of the best acting I've seen in a while. Very, very believable family dynamic going on here.
100%.
Like, you feel the love between the father and the daughter, and you feel the connection between the mother and the son, and then you feel the disconnect between the father and the mother and their marriage.
Right.
And you also feel the disconnect between the brother and the sister and vice versa. This movie is very story driven. You are not going to get scared. I've seen some reviews and I guess perspectives of people that watch this movie I don't agree with because they said it's scary. I guess maybe for some people this might be scary. Maybe. I don't see how. I'm not knocking anybody. But me personally, I don't know how you could find this scary. It's about as scary as Casper is. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
It gets very dark and creepy at the end, like very cynical. The twist at the end of the movie is a good twist. M. Night should be writing this shit down.
Take
honestly.
notes.
Yeah, take notes on this shit. Overall, I don't really have any negatives for this one. Are there some positives that you have that maybe I missed?
You hit a lot of the things that, I would have said as well. I think what's interesting is none of us saw the trailer going into this, but I just watched the trailer just to see what all is in there, what is given away or not given away. And I truly feel like the trailer is very misleading because it does present it in a way that looks like it's a very haunting, scary movie. And it's not that. Like you said, it's definitely more story driven. It definitely has a lot of different emotional pulls to it. There's, explores a lot in the world of grief. It explores a lot in the just family dynamics and how twisted some families really are.
Agreed.
I do feel like the portrayal of the family was realistic, like, and relatable for a lot of people. It wasn't this like cheese ball, everyone's really close and
No, it was definitely a broken home.
right, definitely a broken home, and like you said, every single person I felt like played their role so well that they were very believable. And then also just kind of some teenage angst. There's a lot of different parts of it that I feel like all came together and built a beautiful story. And you talked about the twist at the end. For me, I felt like there were almost two separate twists. And I don't want to, say what those are and give it away, but there was the kind of the twist that I think most people will speak of. But to me, there was a second one that I did not see coming, didn't think that there was a twist to be had in that part of the story.
It was definitely surprising on my end with that, what you just said, because I was right there with you. Mr. Thunder, is there any more positives that you might have?
No. Yeah, I liked it. As a movie, but like you said, this isn't a scare fest. This isn't jump out of your seat type of movie. I've seen so many horror movies. I don't really go in based off of a horror film, like whether or not it's going to scare me or not, because I know myself and numb to that shit
At this point.
But most of this was a family drama. I mean, we're going through this with, this supernatural thing and looking at all these, relationships. And like you mentioned earlier, the father, the daughter, the son, the mother, and just getting that point of view.
I was going to piggyback off what you said. I think that's one of the things that I like is that this movie didn't try to be something that it wasn't.
Except for the trailer.
Right. Yes, correct. Except for the trailer. The trailer made it seem like something that it wasn't. But the movie itself wasn't trying to come across as a jump scare, got to skim around every corner kind of thing.
It definitely did not have the horror, scary elements to it. Now, the soundtrack on my end, I love good scores and good music incorporated all that goodness together. And this movie definitely delivered on my end with the music they used in it, like the new alternative grunge like wave that we kind of have going on, like that new resurgent in 90s alternative sounding.
Right. And something that I thought was funny is we've talked a lot about theater etiquette, and pulling out your phones is a big no-no, right? So you pulled your phone out, Ripper. And I was like, what is he doing? He knows better than that.
I wanted to know what the songs were.
He was Shazamming the song.
To my credit, though, my screen is blacked out.
That's true.
I definitely put lowest possible settings so it doesn't like have a glow. It didn't disrupt anybody. I'm definitely against that, but the music in there, I was like, oh, this is definitely going on my new alternative grunge list.
Yeah.
And the actual score to the movie is beautiful, like hauntingly beautiful. Love the piano in this movie.
Plays right into the mood.
100%. I love the twists, the turns in this. This is about as much of a horror movie as Ghost is, honestly.
That's fair.
Falls into that category. It's no other category you can put it in except for horror.
Right.
It falls in line with your, like I said, Ghost, Hocus Pocus, Nightmare Before Christmas, Ernest Scared Stupid, etc., etc.
Right.
Not that it's a comedy movie, but it just falls into that horror category because of the horror element that it takes. And people either really love horror or really don't. And if you throw a horror element into it, a lot of people are like, I'm out. And judging by the trailer, they're probably not going to watch this for a family drama that it is.
Right.
They're thinking it's going to be Paranormal Activity 2.0 from a first-person perspective, which is also another big thing that I thought was very refreshing with this movie, with a new take, a new twist from the entity's perspective. We haven't gotten anything like that. The only thing we have is last year's y'all's favorite movie, In a Violent Nature.
Ha ha ha.
Which we're getting In a Violent Nature 2. They just announced that.
No!
By the way. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm excited for it because I think it's going to be better. Anyway,
It's gotta be.
Well, we're not here to talk about In a Violent Nature.
Well, to piggyback off of what you said about how some people might be turned off by watching the trailer and thinking that it's going to be a horror film, that can work the opposite way. People going into this thinking that it is, in fact, a horror film, and seeing it, they could have been disappointed.
That's why I said I was glad that we didn't see the trailer ahead of time.
And we will talk about that in the reviews because it definitely reflects. As far as negatives on my end, I don't really have a negative for this movie other than I wouldn't say it's a negative. It got me. I thought I had it figured out, and I didn't.
Which is so unlike you.
Yeah, it's very unlike me. Normally, I figure it out with like in 5 minutes or so. I'm very happy that I didn't figure it out. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's my negative, but it's also a positive, and it plays in the favor. And it made the movie jump up more once you explained it to me. And it was like that aha moment.
Brilliant.
And it clicked. Yeah, it was brilliant on my end. But Miss Lana, do you have any negatives?
Honestly, I really don't. I was trying to think of something, but I really don't have any negatives.
Thunter from Down Under.
Yeah, just a few, not many. I mean, nothing.
I feel like we've
big.
traded seats in this one.
Nothing too big. Really wish we could have got a little bit more horror element to it. It was promoted as a horror film. I just really wish it would have done something with that. But to me, some of the dialogue was chunky and kind of cringy. But other than that, it was okay.
I disagree with that. I don't think it was cringy at all. What part made you like cringe?
There was a few different parts of it. I thought that there was a lot of language in this film that just unnecessary.
Like vulgarity?
That too, yeah. Especially from the daughter's point of view. Like, it seemed like every other word she said was fuck. That's what I got. And I get it. She's a young teenage girl, and that's teenagers say fuck a lot. I say fuck a lot. To me, it was just a bit more than I wanted to see in a film. It was kind of like it's in here too much to be relatable.
Hear me out. She didn't talk like that in front of her parents.
Yeah, I get that.
And when she was behind closed doors or with her lover, friend, whatever you want to call, or her brother, it was a different story. It's exactly how we were as kids.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, that wasn't the only thing. I feel like...
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but to me, it didn't come off as cringy because I'm seeing it like I was that kid. You know, as soon as the door shut, you're cussing like Cartman. But
yeah, I get that. It's just it just didn't do a whole lot for me. I feel like there was a lot of scenes that went from just mindless, meaningless dialogue to really heavy in like 2.2 seconds without a setup.
See, to me, that made it feel more like a family aspect where I think you may think it was pointless dialogue, like when the brother was telling a story about taking a picture of one of the friends or something like that and embarrassing and everything. Like the story was getting old, but then I saw where they were going with it and it built up. I dug it.
I get it. I mean, you want to make it seem real, but at the same time, this is a movie.
It is what it is. This time, we're just on two different sides of the spectrum. I guess this is what y'all felt like within a violent nature.
That movie sucked ass, but...
Whatever.
God.
God, you're such a putz. Well, you're such a negative Nancy.
Says the guy self-proclaimed the negative Nancy.
Look, why you gotta call me out like that? First of all, I'm just very particular. Overall, if you're going into this with that mentality of you watch horror movies to be scared, which I can't put myself in your shoes because it doesn't work like that for me, you're going to be pissed, honestly.
Yeah.
I think really what it boils down to is just go into it have realistic expectations that you hear what we're saying. This is not a scary movie.
No.
Don't expect it to be.
This is not.
And I will say that if I would have actually saw the trailer going into this movie, I would hate it more.
Right.
If they would have made a realistic trailer of what this was going to be, my first thought was, should we go see this? Does this look like a horror movie, guys?
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with what you say in the perspective of what is presented to you. I mean, if you go to a Transformers movie and in the trailer it's Transformers galore, and then you get there and it's Care Bears, you're not going to be happy.
I didn't expect you to say Care Bears.
Well, I mean, that's what it is. You have something that you think is going to be like frightful, and it's more tug at your heartstrings.
Right.
You're setting people up for the wrong thing. I don't know if it's because you are wanting to flip things on people or twist it around. But Mr. Soderbergh, I appreciate what you did. It's a little 50-50. I think it's worth your time and money on my end. I can't wait to rewatch this movie knowing what I know now, personally. I'm guessing, Miss Lana, you're right there with me.
I'm right there with you. And I feel like the first watch of this film is definitely probably going to be one of those that is experienced better in the theater.
Agreed. Thunder, yes, no, pass.
As a movie, I think it's good. As a horror movie, you're going to be disappointed. I probably will never watch this again.
Well, as always, we give you their ratings before we give you our ratings. So, I guess we'll start off with over at Metacritic. Has this at a 77%. How do y'all feel about that?
So what would that be? Like close to a 4 out of 5, technically?
I'm guessing so.
Okay.
Our friends over at IMDb, over at IMDb, they have this at a 6.7 out of 10. So a little over half. The Google ratings review summary is at a 2.0 out of 5.
Oh, don't agree with that.
I think what Todd said is what happened.
Yeah.
I think that they went in to expect paranormal scare you out of your pants, and we got ghosts from the first person perspective. Well, over at the Tomatoes That Are Rotten, popcorn meter, which is the audience, is at 56%.
Wow.
Now, the tomato meter is at 88% with a certified fresh rating.
I agree more with that one.
Very
Interesting.
Very split. I think this might be a victim of marketing.
Yeah.
Possibly. I think that's the only negative for this movie that I can see from the outside looking in. This is just my personal opinion on this. Y'all can tell me if you agree or disagree with what I'm about to say. As far as making it scary, the element of surprise is not knowing when the entity's there. We're seeing it from the entity's eyes. How scary can it be? It wasn't made to be taken out of the first person perspective. So how scary can you make this movie?
Well, I think that's probably my problem. You know, when you played the trailer earlier and it had horror music and the whole 9 yards, this isn't a dig at the movie, but the marketers, like you said, they were full of shit on this. It was a total tool to get people to get into the theaters hoping to see a horror film. And
It's almost false advertising.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, it's from the entity's point of view. Like you said, you know, how scary could it actually be?
Honestly, in the movie, you see the entity. I'm going to say entity because I don't want to give anything away. You see when it like moves things or knocks things over, and then they're scared. Now, if that was camera flipped around, you know, when she comes out and everything like that, it'd be like a, oh shit moment. But you can't do that. Like, it's physically not there.
That's a really good point.
It's like, if I scare you, I'm not going to be scared.
I'm going to be the one that's scared.
You're the one that's going to be
Right.
scared. So, yeah, I think they kind of failed in the letting people know what they were getting into, unfortunately. But the final moment has come. The ratings. Lana, what do you give? Presents.
I had no negatives.
Okay.
I told myself I was going to be so much better about not giving out 5s this year, but I have no negatives. I really liked this movie. I loved the story. I will say I'm judging this not as a, was this horror, was it not, just as a movie and how I liked it and how I feel like the cinematography was and the acting and story and all of the things. So for me, it's a 5.
Nice. Well, since I don't want to end on a sour note, Todd of Thunder.
3 out of 5.
That's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
I didn't
kinda
hate the
felt-
film. It's just I was expecting a little bit more meat on the bones when it came to the horror aspect.
Right.
I get that.
My rating for this movie, I give it a 4. I think it's worthy of a 4 because I really don't have any negatives for this movie. Love the original score. Love the new wave alternative grunge songs that they throw into this movie. Love the one-shot takes in it. Very beautiful. Done very well. Even the cut to black scenes, I normally hate with a passion. You know this. I've stressed this before. I hate just hard cuts and shitty transitions. This one, it worked.
Right.
It was almost like the entity was kind of like done with this for the moment, or maybe it was the day's end or something. It just worked very well for this. I guess the continuous shots, the one take shot, and then like it cutting. It just worked. It was beautiful. And the family dynamic, the family story, the ultimate twist at the end, or the double twist that we have go on, loved it. I would like to give it a rewatch. And I think upon a rewatch, I think that it might go a little bit higher, maybe, but I don't think it's going to be a 5. But I definitely think it's one that I would revisit. If you do get the time and you want to give us a present, go check out our social medias. You can go to 1331 Horrorcast across the board. We're now officially on YouTube at 1331 Horrorcast. We have one video up now. You can check us out. We're over at TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on
IG,
the Instagrams. We're over at Teespring, 1331 Horrorcast. We're everywhere. But as always, thank you for tuning in to 1331 Horrorcast. I'm Mr. Ripper.
And I'm Todd of Thunder saying toodaloo.
Bye, my little monsters.
Stay spooky.